meteorologist Mark Molnar. Thank you for joining me for this edition of Weather Northeastern. Taking a look here, starting off with the weather, very wintry pattern that we're going to get into here. So for all those that were very depressed that winter seemed to be on hold at the last couple weeks or even up to a month, take a look at this. This is some central snow here from the upper Ohio Valley, even portions of the Mississippi River Valley, stretching all the way over to the U.S. East Coast here, particularly the inland Appalachian areas. Virginia could get accumulating snows, along with Maryland, Pennsylvania, portions of central and southern Pennsylvania. Yes, you are on this list too as well. The areas that I've highlighted here in the light blue, I'm expecting most likely the 2 to 4 inch variety of snowfall accumulations. In the darker blue here, that's where I'm expecting you could get 4 or more inches of snow out of this system. And this is a system that will be ejecting out of the mid-Mississippi and lower Mississippi River Valley following this subtropical jet stream that's really pushed to the south here. You see the polar jet carving out this eastern trough here. This is the beginnings of what could be the continuation, finally, of winter time. And it's portions of interior Virginia, Maryland, especially southern Pennsylvania, particularly south of Interstate 80, and stretching westward towards West Virginia and all the way back towards Missouri and Kansas for that matter. We'll be seeing some significant snowfall accumulations here. Now, it's really hard to get into exact totals. That's why I have 2 to 4 and then 4 or more in these areas, the light blue versus the dark blue. And of course, the fuchsia colors here will be the areas that will mix in with some freezing rain and sleet. So right along and east of Interstate 81, that's kind of the demarcation zone there. So even places like the nation's capital, Harrisburg, Baltimore, Richmond, all stretching westward into the western portion of West Virginia and Western Virginia for that matter, that's where we'll be looking at some significant wintry precipitation with this system. The system does not have a lot of moisture to work with. However, temperatures will be right on that prime level of upper 20s, lower 30s that will get some good snow growth going on as well. So even though it doesn't have a lot of moisture to work with, it's still something to really watch here over the weekend. Main impact time frame is going to be right around 8 p.m. on Saturday evening, stretching all the way through Sunday morning, midday, even towards dragging on through the early afternoon hours in some areas here. So we'll have to watch for this. This is going to be interesting. And one thing to note here is this system has a big high pressure here to the north that will keep that cold air flowing in like a conveyor belt from the north here. So there you have it. This is the map that we're going to focus on during the next 72 to 96 hours. So something to look forward to this weekend here. If you're in portions of the Mid Atlantic and the southeast here, Appalachians even stretching westward here, starting well earlier in the weekend back towards Missouri and the Ohio River Valley. So there's the pattern I'm looking at, much more wintry, and that takes us right into the precipitation map. As I was showing you here in the last frame, precipitation looks to be, for the most part, not very significant. Here, mostly we're looking at 1/4 to 1/2 an inch, stretching from the lower and mid-Mississippi River Valley on stretching eastward and following the Appalachians here into the Mid-Atlantic. Anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 inch, maybe up to 3/4 of an inch of liquid equivalent. This isn't a whole lot considering the system is moving towards the east-northeast here following the subtropical jet. But it does tap into a little bit of moisture from the Gulf and the Atlantic, so we're not looking at a major blockbuster system here, but nevertheless, enough precipitation to cause some problems heading right into your pattern. Here it is. That advertised pattern I was showing you last segment of Weather Northeastern, the split flow out west, polar rides to the north, subtropical to the south here, split flow pattern reminiscent of a weak El Nino kicking in back here to the east. Big trough developing with both jet streams playing into this with starting the blocking a little bit to the northeast here, northeastern North America towards Greenland. We're not seeing significant blocking yet, but that is coming down the pike here, and the polar vortex slowly pivoting and pinwheeling towards the eastern half of the North American continent. So there's the pattern outlook. We're getting right into snowfall totals across my immediate forecast area for New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New England. Saw some major snowfall totals here in the snow belts off Lake Erie, Lake Ontario. Those will be shutting down as high pressure crusts overhead. We get some clearing skies, sinking air, and that shuts down most of the lake activity that's been occurring with very significant snowfall totals. This map takes us into later Saturday, into Sunday. I was telling you about that snowfall advancing on Pennsylvania here. Well, particularly areas along and south of Interstate 80, that's where the best chance for 2 to 4 inches of snow accumulation exists. A lot of you have not seen much snow here across southern Pennsylvania, but you have a chance of it now, especially places like Harrisburg, maybe even as far east as Philadelphia, right along the Pennsylvania-Maryland border, stretching northward. State College will have to watch you as well, possibly Pittsburgh here, but the best chance is right along those southern tier counties of Pennsylvania, and even some counties further north here, just along and south of Interstate 80. Places towards just south of Harrisburg, you could end up with easily 3 to 5 inches possibly out of this as it stretches back westward as well. We'll have to watch the latest model trends, but most of you will see anywhere from 2 to 5 inches of snow with good snow growth coming out of the system, despite the lack of moisture for the most part. So it'll be interesting to see how far north we get this to advance. But for those of you from Wilkes-Barre, Scranton on north, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, you could see some flurries and some scattered light snow showers, maybe up to a half, 3/4, maybe 1 inch of snow. Binghamton, however, I don't really foresee any much chance of snow out of this system. There's just too much dry air from this high pressure anchored well to your north here. And since the system will be pretty much moving off the coast and not moving up the coast, I don't foresee southern New England really getting in on the act here either. So the main areas of interest are Harrisburg to Pittsburgh along the PA Turnpike, areas from Interstate 80 across Pennsylvania on southward. That's my concern. We'll probably have the snow start just before or right around sunset on Saturday, maybe just slightly afterwards, and advance slowly to the north. And that will continue through most of the night, most of it light. We'll get some periods of moderate snow, and that's enough to bring you up to those snowfall totals of at least a couple to almost some areas reaching maybe closer to 5 or 6 inches here. So we'll have to watch this. This looks very interesting towards the weekend, and I'll watch those model trends for you as they fluctuate a little bit back and forth here. Ice totals, I am not expecting any ice, at least for the next 3 to 5 days here across my forecast area, even towards the coast here. Taking a look at the forecast, starting off with TGIF Friday. Look at this. Really cold across the northeast. One thing to note, we'll hold on to a little bit of lake streamers off Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, but we'll slowly pivot those away. They'll slowly weekend drift to the north. Temperatures only breaking out into the lower to mid-20s most areas. Look at this, Syracuse and even Albany and Burlington, not even reaching the 20s tomorrow. And the wind chills across the area. The winds have been howling out of the northwest here. 15 to 25 miles per hour, gusts up to 45. They'll start to subside towards the 15 mile per hour range, but that's still going to bring those wind chills down. Heading on into Saturday, a lot of you Saturday morning will be dealing with single digits in the normally colder valleys. But here it is, later Saturday evening, that advancing snow line moving up maybe as far north as the I-80, Interstate 80 in Pennsylvania. Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, it's going to be real close for you, but I think most of the major snow totals will be south of you, right along the counties of southern Pennsylvania here, getting in on the act, probably a couple inches overnight into Sunday morning here. Here's Sunday across the northeast. We'll slowly move that system to the southeast, so most of the snow that will be occurring will be along and east of Harrisburg by that time, so probably another at least 1 to 3 inches likely for your area in the southeastern corner of my forecast area. So we'll break out some sun here across most of the area, across the north here, and then into your Monday, here it is. We start a little bit, if you can call this much of a warming trend. Not very warm to say the least, but for those of you that like winter, looks like the snow that did fall across to Pennsylvania by this time will be sticking around for the most part, and we break out some sunny skies in some areas of my forecast area. Take a look at the forecast, 5-day, Binghamton to Scranton to Wilkes-Barre, all points in between. Look at this, Friday, cold day. We'll break out the sun by afternoon. Temperatures reaching only into right around the 20-degree mark. Wind chills feel colder. Saturday morning, single digits in those normally colder valleys, only heading up towards the mid-20s into your Sunday. Look at this. Not too bad as far as wintry type conditions, but we break out the sun. Will remain cold. Temperatures remaining a little bit below normal, but that's expected for this time of year with winter. So a much more winterier pattern, and we'll have to watch later next week as we get more storminess. But at least through this forecast period, mostly clear skies. That'll do it for this edition of Weather Northeastern. Don't forget to like me on Facebook at MeteoMark, subscribe to me on YouTube at MeteoMark Comments, Twitter at WX Northeastern, Google+, MeteoMark, MeteoMark.com, and that's weathernortheastern.com. Thanks for joining me for this edition of Weather Northeastern.